Tusculum Pioneers haven't lost since January 4th against Anderson. Go on a 3-game road swing, win all 3, and then return home and take down the Wingate Bulldogs. Hello again, everyone. Bryan State and Pioneer basketball with Coach Devan Carter. That'd be Coach Carter's. The Pioneers, in the 4-game winning streak, have taken down 2 teams that were ranked in the top 8 in the region. Yet, they slide back 1 spot to number 6 with the newest poll that has come out. The Pioneers have knocked off their arch rival in Carson Newman, and then the Wingate Bulldogs, whom they lost to 3 straight last season and had a pretty good losing skid against for Pioneer coach Devan Carter's career. Let's start on Wednesday on the road, wrapping up this 3-game road swing in Jefferson City against a Carson Newman team that, let's just face it, what they have done over the last 5 games, 89 points a contest, also holding teams to just 68 points a game. They're lighting it up, they're scoring the basketball, and they're clamping down defensively too. And you didn't make it look easy. It wasn't always that way, but I think very satisfying, very gratifying win for your team.
For sure. I think that anytime you can go on the road and beat a rival, that's big. I think the big thing for us is that we had to come in and we had to limit their 3-point makes. We had to do a great job of guarding the line, and we had to just contest everything. And so I thought our kids at first were, lost a couple assignments early, and we lost Weichel a couple times, and we lost Marisites a couple times. But overall, I thought they locked down, and we got stops when we needed to. I think the stat was, I'm a numbers guy in 2020. I think the stat was, help them score us last 5 minutes of the ball game, 5 minutes and 7 seconds. And I think that, when you're on the road, you're playing a really good team like Carson Newman. You're playing an explosive team like Carson Newman. You got to be able to get timely stops. And although I thought that, there were some assignments that we missed, when we buckled down and had to get stops, we did.
What I also like about what the team has done, it's a veteran team, and you got that. You scored 5 points in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Teams for your teams in the past may not have been able to get over that and play the way they did in the second half. Wilson started 0 for 8.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things there in the game that we were just scratching our heads that, well, here we go again.
Yeah.
But your team really did a nice job responding in the second half. Wilson scored her 1,000th point. She scored all 17 of her points in that game in the second half, plus the go-ahead bucket. And I like the way you were able to not even panic and just go about what your game plan was in the second half.
Yeah, and I think, too, as a coach, I mean, if you're on the sidelines going crazy, I think your kids get a little frazzled sometimes. There's certain things that you have to coach up more than others, and I think in that first half, I feel like for us, we were just a little lackadaisical with the basketball. We were getting stops, but then, we were giving it away, and I think that we missed a lot of what we call one-footers, with shots around the basket. Had offensive rebound, putbacks and stuff like that we were missing. But I think the second half, we did a great job of just really creating closeouts. I thought that our kids really shared the ball very well, and they did a great job of making the extra pass. And then I think Sydney was able to get some good looks at the hole. Sydney looked like Sydney the slasher instead of Sydney the shooter. She was able to get to the basket, and I think once she saw those first few go in, she was able to get a rhythm and knock down some shots, and Lord knows we needed them.
And it was good to see your team in a rhythm, because it seems as if all 3 games on the road were won a different way. The 3-pointer against Mars Hill, just a struggle against Coker to find the rhythm offensively. Made enough free throws down the stretch, but not the ones that you wanted to. Found that way to win. And against Carson Newman, it was almost the complete game. It was what you guys do defensively, and that's kind of locked down people. You hold a team that shoots almost 50% on the year to 37% shooting for the game, 18 points under their season average. That's their season average, not what they have done in that winning streak. And I like the way that your team was able to score consistently, especially in the second half.
Yeah, I think in the second half, offensively, obviously you go into the half and you try to make adjustments. And I'll be honest, I think that we really just simplified everything in the second half. I mean, you look at what we were able to do from a set standpoint. I mean, we probably stayed in about 2 or 3 and just really tried to make sure that we were spreading the floor and kicking the basketball. So, it really helps when you have veteran players to go on the road. Our kids have been there. Sydney, Casey, they've won there before, but it's been a long time. And so for us to go on the road and really get that one and to get the stops when we needed to close out the game was really impressive. I thought defensively in the second half we were just better and more attentive to detail. and we just got timely stops.
They really forced the turnovers. 22 of them they forced against the Carson Eagles, one of the best teams in forcing the turnover. The Pioneers didn't necessarily always score in the transition, but Casey Johnson was very assertive, especially in the second half. Sydney Wilson, 17. But Jayla Arnwine, who we'll talk about here coming up in a few moments, also with 17 points, career best 4 3-pointers in the game. And that long ball is starting to go for her. And that's really, I think, what the Pioneers have done. Who shoot 39% for the game. Keep in mind they were probably under 20% through about 2.5 quarters in that contest. You're scoring off in transition. We'll talk a little bit more about that transition offense as well, and the fast break points. And then the bench was able to provide a big spark for the Pioneers because Sid Wilson came off the bench in the game with all 17 of those. Now, it ends a long streak. Pioneers hadn't won there since 2016. Swept last year by the Eagles, and get that big victory at Holt Fieldhouse. Pack the arena night. Should be packed when they come back at Tusculum here in February. So the Pioneers pick up a 71-66 win against their rival after trailing from 10 points, rallying in that second half. Then the Wingate Bulldogs come in to open up a homestand, and here's a team that any Ann Hancock team is going to be very solid. There's no question about that. I think she is struggling a little bit because of the 8 freshmen. I mean, she is a totally revamped structure with everything that she's got going on. But here's the team you open up with that has been so solid, the staple in the South Atlantic Conference, just like Anderson, just like Carson, just like Tusculum is becoming. Here's your top 4 matchup in the South Atlantic Conference, and wow, it almost as if you just threw that away. You're playing at a very, very high level right now, and the freshmen, I don't think we're able to respond to the maybe even your intensity that you had to start the game.
Well, I think that, one thing when you look at Wingate, you know they're going to be really good defensively. I think our numbers defensively as a team and program are very similar. And anytime you have freshmen that you can get to guard like that, that's really impressive. And I think that lets you know what type of coach that Coach Hancock is. She's just really, really good at what she does.
Yeah.
She's a phenomenal coach. And I think that, for us, we have some older kids, and I think that we try to make sure that we got that game moving a little bit, because when you get into a half-court set game with Wingate, chances are you're going to come out and lose an end.
Yeah,
they execute at a high level, and they're going to get stops at the other end, and so we really just try to, get that game moving a little bit, and I think that we were able to do that. I think the biggest, deal in that ball game is we were able to make some shots early, and we didn't have that typical lull like we did in the second quarter of Wingate. Carson Newman.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that's been really refreshing for us is that you look at our game versus Carson Newman and Wingate. We were able to put up about 20 points in every quarter, except for the second quarter against Carson Newman. I think the fourth quarter against Wingate, we were able to score the ball consistently, and I think that when we're able to do that, it really works out in our favor.
Let's take a look at the highlights. Tusculum and Wingate. As a matter of fact, the second quarter, complete opposite. It was not the shutout. It was the shutdown offensive output for the Pioneer women as they finished with 22 points in that quarter, outscoring Wingate 22-8. Tusculum goes on the 20-0 run. As a matter of fact, it was one of their best runs offensively. We get the highlights, we'll get them up. If not, then we'll just keep talking about it. But it was that second quarter that really distanced yourselves. 23-16 at the end of one, but as the end of the first quarter, we started seeing that run happen. And I like the stat that you brought up to my attention, the fact that top 10 in the nation in transition offense, you really flexed your muscle a little bit there.
Yeah, I think that when you look at teams that are really good offensively, they find a way to score what we call cheap buckets. And so we really try to focus on that. Like I said, you get into games where you're running everything into the half court, and so many variables go into that, and it's really tough to be an efficient offense. But when you can get some cheap buckets and do some things to get some extra points on the board, I think it really works out in your favor. So we were able to get stops. That's the number one key. Then you got to get the rebound, and then you got to have kids that are committed to running the floor. And everybody says they want to play fast until it's time to play fast, until it's time to do the conditioning, until it's time to be held accountable for running the floor and stuff like that. And our kids have really embraced that. That aspect of our game, and I think that for us to be what we need to be, we've got to continue to do it.
Defensively, you're clamping down against Wingate. We're seeing, one of the greatest shot blockers here of late, especially what we thought we were going to see out of Jazz Williams coming out of high school, and doing the things that she's doing. It really kind of rallied the troops right there at the end of that first quarter, and you go on the run. You force the turnovers here in the second quarter, and this is where it really kind of all happens. The turnovers that you forced against Wingate were 23. You did have some yourself, but you scored 30 points off of their turnovers, and you get out in transition. I just like the way your entire team ran the floor Saturday.
Yeah, ran it really hard. And I tell you this, I think the thing with, obviously I think that because I'm a numbers guy in 2020, we're leading the conference in turnover margin, which means we're turning people over and not turning over as much. And there are a couple outliers. I think you look at, I believe it was Coker, and then I think you look at even this game right here. Up until we made subs, we had 8 turnovers in the ball game, and I think they had 20-some, and we finished the game with 19. I'm challenging our bench as we speak, in this week, last week, and everything else, is that, for us to go where we want to go, we've got to be able to play 10, 11 people. And I felt like at the end of the game, we got a little loose with some turnovers, but all in all, you look at how we took care of the basketball. I thought we did a good job, and we're able to get out in transition and score off theirs. And that's something we've been trying to work on as well. You can't force a turnover and just pull it out. You got to get to the rim and attack.
Seen a couple of three-pointers made by Jayla Arnwine here in this contest as well. Just want to point out the fact that the drought that she was under was ridiculous. Like, you don't see droughts like that very often from a player. And really what she's been able to do here of late and reach double figures for a third straight game, 13 points. The ability, I think, what is she, 47% shooting from three-point territory during this stretch right now. It's been a catalyst for what you guys are doing, because you needed that secondary, and when I say secondary, third or fourth scorer on this team, and she's really stepped up.
For sure. And the thing about Jay, I tell people, I just told somebody her story a few seconds ago. The kid, she works. And in today's times of instant gratification, and if it don't work out in a week, I quit. This kid has truly stayed the course. She came here as a walk-on. She came in, and I used her as an example the other day in film, because before she was a good basketball player at the college level, she was a great teammate. The way that you see our bench with the enthusiasm and the cheering for one another, and sometimes absolute absurd nature of how they jump up and down and clap for each other, and the referees telling them to sit down. That started with Maddie Sutton and Jayla Arnwine. And so, before she got on the floor to play for her, she was a great teammate. And she invested a lot in our program and added value in our program. And now the success that she's having is just the result of hard work. She works her butt off. She's already been in this morning to get in shots. She's constantly working on her game. And she's one of those kids that you hear stories in the league about kids who really work hard. Like, everybody knows in our league that Lexi Mullenhauer works really hard. She's a first-team All-American. She works her butt off. Jayla Arnwine may not be a first-team All-American, but she's a kid who works her butt off, and she's taken a lot of people's spots who may have come in with bigger, background stories and everything else like that, because she's consistent. You know what you're getting out of her, and she's what I want our program to be about.
Pioneers get the victory against the Wingate Bulldogs. Keep in mind, Mia Long 15 of 17 in the contest. Casey Johnson is scoring the ball. Sydney Wilson is scoring the ball. Maddie Sutton is scoring the ball. And you're getting the job done offensively off the bench. Elle Hutchinson comes in and hits big three-pointers along with Aaliyah Miller. And Jazz Williams has been a stalwart defensively. This Pioneer team has won 4 games because of about the team, not necessarily about one individual right now, but there are some that have really stepped up. For the Pioneers, they hadn't defeated Wingate since the 2015-16 year. Recall that year, the one year we go down to the Cuddy, and the no call, famous 1-point win at the Cuddy, the no call that happened, all right, just because that's truthfully what happened, and it was in our favor on the road. And then the overtime victory against the Bulldogs as the Pioneers got the sweep that particular year. Last year, the Bulldogs swept the Pioneers in the 3 games that they had. And Tusculum, and again, it's not very often that you see a 20-point win against Wingate. That's what happened. The second quarter, the Catalyst 22-8. They outscored the Bulldogs 24-14 in the third quarter. Talia Jeter led the Bulldog charge with 14 points in the contest. So the Pioneers have won 4 straight. Now they get one of their oldest rivals ever. Lincoln Memorial coming into Pioneer Arena, and then number 1, Catawba is looming. We'll talk about that when we return after this. It's Pioneer Basketball with Coach Devan Carter.
Family.
Food's here!
What's it mean to you?
Got lunch.
To us, it means the people you care about, look out for, and yeah, love. Even if you'd never let them hear you say it.
Hey, you're eating hummus?
What's wrong with hummus?
Here at Ingalls, we have everything you need to gather around the table and give each other a hard time. Because that's what families do. Ingalls. All the ingredients for family.
Reaching the halfway point in the South Atlantic Conference. They wrap that up this week and then turn the page. Rejoined by Pioneer coach Devan Carter. The Pioneers get Lincoln Memorial to wrap up their 2-game homestand. That's just where we'll start. Let's just start right there. One of the oldest rivalries in the state of Tennessee, Tusculum and LMU, as these teams have really had some really good battles over the last couple of seasons. And what does it have to take in order for this team to pick up your 5th straight win?
Well, I think, first and foremost, the challenge I always put before our kids is that we have to be the best versions of ourselves before we even start talking about our opponent. And so, we have to do the things that we've done, the entire year. We've got to compete on the glass. We've got to finish possessions with the rebound. We've got to knock in free throws. We've got to finish around the rim, make those one-footers, as we say. And then we've got to get the game moving. I think that's when we're at our best. And so for us, it's just going to boil down to being the best versions of ourselves. And then, knowing the personnel of LMU. It's a little bit different than it has been in the past. They've got some kids that can shoot the basketball. They've got some new kids. They've got some transfers in, some Division I transfers. They play a kind of a unique style. Normally LMU is a straight man-to-man team. Now they're playing some man as well as some 1-2-2, 3-2 zone that they'll sit in, and they've got some athletes. Probably not as big as they were when, past couple years, but they're really athletic. And so we're going to have to do our due in every facet of the game to get a win. Very scrappy team. Was up on Anderson at the half. Yeah. Went to Wingate, won at Wingate. Has some big wins this year.
Corals has been very big, one of their big returners back. She not necessarily just lighting it up. It's an LMU team that's only scoring 62 points a game and defensively getting the job done there. Yeah. That will be Wednesday night. Come join us for 80s night. Break out your favorite members-only jackets. Maybe parachute pants, still very popular back in the 80s. And maybe they're making a comeback. I doubt it. Flock of seagull hair, whatever it may take. So come and check that out. That'll be on Wednesday. Then Saturday, it's Tasia DeShazo. And a game you didn't play very well here at home, but it's your second chance of redemption. The new number 1 ranked team in the region, Catawba, number 1 team in the conference, tied with Anderson.
Yes, very good basketball team. Came down to our place, beat us. A game we didn't play well, a game we didn't shoot free throws, knock in free throws. Just a game that, our kids I know are looking forward to, obviously after we play LMU, which we got to focus on first. But a really good Catawba team. They play hard, they play fast. They have to be leading the conference in charges taking. And then, obviously the rate that they turn you over at is just extreme. So they like to get up and down the floor. I think the big deal with Catawba is last year, obviously Coach Baxter taking over, he established the toughness piece first. And I think that's huge when you're taking over the program. And then obviously this year they're really shooting the ball well. And then Tasia DeShazo, who still irks me to this day because she's from my neighborhood, she's from the same place, but made a phenomenal decision to go to Catawba and playing for Coach Baxter. And she's just having a breakout career. A breakout year, excuse me. No doubt she's already a 1,000-point scorer, had a 40-point game this year. And the 3 that she hit against us this year with about under a minute to go in transition was one of the most cold-blooded shots I've ever seen. We had cut the game to 1, and she hit that off a throwback in transition. And to take that shot, you got to be confident and you got to be really good, and she's both. So gonna have our work cut out for us. Haven't won there in a while, and just a place that's extremely tough to play at. Their fans are back in the arena now supporting them, and it's going to be a big-time challenge for us.
So we'll see that challenge on Saturday in Salisbury as the Pioneers this week against LMU and Catawba. It's just not a very easy schedule here over the next 3 weeks, but then again, nothing ever is in the South Atlantic Conference as well. Pioneers remain one game back first, but still a lot of conference basketball to be played. You can follow all of that this week here on the Pioneer website, TusculumPioneers.com. Watch the game, listen to the game, and then on Saturday we do travel to Salisbury. Catawba will offer a video feed. You can check that out through the Tusculum website, TusculumPioneers.com. Live video and live audio of the radio call as the Pioneer Sports Network will be there on Saturday. It's been a great start to the conference year for this Pioneer women's basketball team. Like to see this thing carry on as well. Find out if they continue and will be able to do that. My money is betting that they would, although I'm not a betting man, just so that we're all clear. For Nick Forsberg and Zach Hartle on the Pioneer Sports Network video side of things, I'm Brian Staten. He's Devan Carter. Until next week, go Pioneers.